Welcome everyone to Dragons Collective episode 10. Over the last 20 weeks we've done this fortnightly D&D RPG variety show, and we've talked about everything from, well, D&D miniatures such as this glorious dragon, through terrain to the source books and so much more. Not always D&D, every RPG is welcome on the show. And well, today we're going to talk about what gets us passionate, what keeps us coming back for more when it comes to RPGs. So without further ado, I'll pass over to the first creator.
What is up? My name is Matthew McCack from Room 51, and this is Dragons Collective. I am excited to be here. We are talking about our favorite parts of Dungeons and Dragons, or RPGs as a whole. And I have to say that my favorite thing about Dungeons and Dragons specifically is just the sense of adventure, man. I love that adventure, the storytelling. I could do whatever I want. I could sneak into the Dragon Lord's lair by disguising myself as one of their minions or something like that, right? I could do whatever I want. I could sneak past things or just ride through the valleys and stuff, you know, like it's sandboxy, and it's it makes me feel like, well, I was gonna say a hero, but I could be whatever I want, really. I could be a hero, I could be a villain, I could be somewhere in between where I'm sort of like just doing my own thing, you know, like I could be a Mandalorian. I guess that would be a Star Wars RPG, which I've not played, although that would probably be cool. That is my favorite part of RPGs, D&D specifically. That's the one that I play the most. It's that sense of adventure where I get to be awesome and go on epic, story-driven moments and experiences, and experience that with my friends. So anyway, that's it for this week. Thank you so much for watching. I'll catch you all next time.
What makes me so passionate about tabletop role-playing games is that it offers a wholly unique experience that, quite frankly, we just can't get anywhere else. And this is specifically referring to video games. With video games, there are limits. With video games, there is code saying you cannot do this, but more importantly, the code is basically saying that you can only do these several things. With all the different types of tabletop role-playing games, you can do whatever the heck you want. You can craft whatever story you want. You can dive into a world that was never dreamt up by anyone else except for the one person that is running the game. And also another important aspect of it too is the cooperative nature of it. Is the fact that more often than not, when I sit down to play a video game, I'm usually playing it by myself, or if I am playing with different people, it's usually in some sort of competitive manner, or it is a cooperative thing. But once again, those are extremely limited by whatever the code is. When you have a group that can sit there and craft worlds unimagined, when you can sit there and explore events that can change based on the way you roll the dice, or what you say in the right moment, or whatever you chose for whatever class you are, whatever the case may be. The fact that there's just so many different variables to it is just absolutely insane and mind-boggling, and it's amazing how we can come up with all of these awesome things. Unlike a lot of people, I actually have only just recently dived into tabletop role-playing games. I only started now at this point 3 some odd years ago. And I have dived headlong into it. I've been going full steam nonstop, and it's been great. It's been amazing exploring this brand new world and running games for all these different players and doing these things that just, quite frankly, would be impossible to do anywhere else. And I'm so thankful that I was introduced to this wonderful world, and I am thankful that I am able to introduce other people as well.
So when it comes to a passion about D&D, and you'll notice on the channel I talk a lot about board games, a passion for board games as well, in the last sort of year and a half, that's sort of been quite hard to sort of continue with. Now, I have tried some sort of virtual online role-play games or stuff like that, and it just doesn't quite work for me. When you're sat around the table, you can gauge how quick things are. You can see things going on like literally in front of you on the table. And yes, the virtual tabletops give you a map and show you where things are moving, but they just don't seem to, for me, capture that. So if it wasn't for a few things coming out over the last sort of year or so, I think my passion for D&D would have sort of ebbed away. Now, a couple of things that have sort of really helped that, and sort of have managed to channel my D&D logic, have been some glorious miniatures, such as the dragon here. You know, an adult dragon, it looks fantastic and it just gets you excited when you see it. And I hope to actually use it in a game at some point soon, because when you're sat around the table with adventurers, whether you're the DM, you know, and plopping it down, or as the adventurer seeing this thing land on the table in front of you, well, something like this brings that wow factor and it gets you excited. And for me, even just thinking about that gets me sort of excited about it. And the other thing for me has been Warlock tiles. So I've done a few different Warlock tiles builds on the channel. I know it sounds like a bit of a plug, but you know, hopefully you do watch them and enjoy them. But for me, it's been very fun and interesting designing different sort of layouts and such with the tiles. I think the tiles make them look really amazing. That's a brilliant plus point, but it's allowed me to sort of play out little scenarios and work out why I'd build things the way I would, and it's allowed me to sort of craft mini stories and mini events in my head and sort of tell them to someone without playing, sort of thing. So I think that sort of helped me keep my passion. But I'd be interested to know, what have you done but maybe not playing virtually that's helped you keep the passion up for D&D or RPGs over the past year and a half? Because I'd be very interested to know. Anyway, that's enough of my face. On with the next creator.
Hey everybody, Rivers here, and I'm doing a video for Dragons Collective again. The question this time is, why are you passionate about D&D or role-playing games? Or show some of your passions. Mine are a couple, and I've shown these before, but dice. I like to collect dice for the games. Let's see here, the bag of holding comes with the dice, all kinds of dice, and I have weather dice. Tell you what's going to be the weather. I got the homemade dice. And then I got the wound dice. Tells you where they've been injured or whatever. So I like dice. And the other thing I really like too, besides that, is miniatures. And I've been collecting miniatures almost as long as I've been collecting dice. This mini here is probably 25, 30 years old. It's an old Ralpartha, and then some of these are only probably 15, 20 years old, and this one's a little newer than that. This is still a metal fig that I painted, but it's still old. And then of course nowadays, yeah, the pre-painted's like this guy here, and so I like dice and I like minis, and that's what my passion is about them. Keeps me coming back for the game. I want more dice for the game, because I'm a dice goblin, and I want more minis to have different opponents that I put down on the table for against my PCs, and to find new NPCs, stuff like that. So the market for the pre-painted minis is great, and if you can't find it there, you can find it other places. I know there's Heroes Forge where you can buy your own pre-made mini. They'll come pre-painted and everything, or colored. So it's neat, and that's what I'm passionate about with the D&D and the role-playing games in general. So dice and minis. So I'm Rivers from Rivers RPG channel, and this is for Dragons Collective. Have a good game.
Hi everyone, I'm Bonnie, a tabletop RPG player and game leader One of my favorite games to play is For the Queen by Alex Roberts, published by Eagle Hat Productions. It's a card-based story-building game that's a little different than other games that have dice and critical failures. What I love about this game is that the mechanics truly serve the story. It's designed to be played in a single session with no game leader prep. In the first part of the game, you build the basic structure of the world in which you will be playing with the other people at the table. Working off your chosen queen artwork, you will create the aesthetic, values, perhaps even history of the world and nation. Then, every player creates a character that has a personal relationship to the queen. This can be a friend, a religious leader, a political ally or rival, or a spy master. The possibilities are endless. Through answering the card prompts, players learn more about their characters, their flaws and goals, and their relationship to the queen. The brilliant part about this game is that all the card prompts are specifically targeted to create dimension and complex relationships. After a player has answered their current prompt, the other players are encouraged to ask follow-up questions, fully fleshing out the answer and helping to tie it into the world. The goal of the game is to build a tangled relationship to the queen, who is also flawed and complicated. This all leads up to the final prompt of the game, which each character must answer. The queen is under attack. Do you defend her? Not only is this a refreshing one-shot to play, it has also helped me build and improve my improv and role-playing skills, and I've noticed a difference at other tables with other systems. This kind of practice can help me when playing 10 Candles, Sleepaway, Kids on Bikes, and exercising the skill of working with another player to allow their character to shine in the spotlight is just good role-playing etiquette. Putting more games on your gaming table or gaming screen, as the case may be, can really help you improve your role-playing and broaden your horizons. If you haven't played For the Queen, I encourage you to give it a try. And personally, I find that the more games I play, the more I get to add to my favorites list. Happy gaming!
So this video is not sponsored, but I will in the next few days, roughly, be releasing a video for these items from the plastic dragon. So this luck puck, which stores some dice, as well as the repository, which is dice storage and a roller. Now, before that video and now until November 30th, if you go onto the plastic dragon, if you use the code DBB20, don't be bored 20, DBB20, you will get 20% off. I don't get anything for that. I was offered some, but I said no, make it a bigger discount for anyone that uses the code. So there is that. And also, hopefully, you've seen the dice bags, or in this case, metal coin bag, the legendary dice bags from DrawLab. 2 videos, this one is out, this one's coming soon, so hopefully some fun content on the channel for you. Now, what is coming up in the world of news? It was spoken a little bit about on one of the D&D announcements, but there is a $170, almost like special edition bundle thing coming. It's sort of popped up on Amazon. Currently it says release date of the 25th of January, and this is going to include 3 books inside sort of like a special collector's like sleeve. And that's going to have Tasha's Cauldron of Everything, Monsters of the Multiverse, and Xanathar's Guide to Everything. So that's kind of like 3 pretty cool books put together. They kind of work quite well together as a sort of set for expanding D&D, and that is, again, 25th of January, that release date. So earlier this year we got some Curse of Strahd miniature sets from WizKids. They weren't the sort of the normal booster boxes, they were sort of like sets. There was a couple of them and they had like a clear front. You knew exactly what you were getting. Well, they are about to, or are going to be at least, releasing some sort of Ravenloft booster boxes. So these are like the blind ones where you buy one and you get 4 miniatures inside, or you can buy like as an 8 or as a 16 or whatever, however many you want to buy. Sticking with WizKids, they've also announced a few different Magic the Gathering themed miniatures. I'm not a huge Magic fan, or in terms of I don't know much about it, but I do know these miniatures look pretty damn awesome. The only thing is that these come primed and ready to paint, and also I am not a painter. And something that, to me, I'm not super sort of enthralled by the idea of them, but the cost, it certainly could be interesting to a lot of people. So WizKids are going to be releasing 2D miniatures. Now these are effectively like transparent, like acrylic, with the sort of image of the monster within it, sort of like an artworky style thing. And from what I've seen, if you're looking on one side, it's got like the front of, say, the monster, and you turn it around, it's got the back of the monster. They've certainly done that for some of their other 2D things they've shown off in the past. Now there's 4 packs. Let's just read the names. There is Essential Monster Pack 1, Essentials Monster Pack 2, 2D Player Character Pack, and then there's finally a Sidekick Pack. So it sounds at least like they're going sort of not all in, but they're doing a good range of 2D miniatures. So I think because the price point of these miniatures, of the 2D ones, is going to be far lower than the 3D ones, it's going to make them a little bit more accessible. To me, I love miniatures on the table. If I didn't have them, yes, you could use counters and such. I think this is a very good sort of midway gap of maybe getting a load of monsters for the same price as only a few 3D pre-painted miniatures. So it could certainly be good for some, and having options is always a good thing. Anyway, that's enough of the news. Now, this, not really a warning. A warning is not quite the right word here, but this next clip from the Drunken Kobold is certainly a powerful one. And, I think it took a lot to sort of open up and sort of say why they're passionate about D&D and the hobby. So, not a warning, but it's certainly a deep and meaningful clip.
Hello, Collective. It's the Drunken Kobold here with why I am so passionate about Dungeons & Dragons. Dungeons & Dragons started for me on June 29th, 2000, not long after I had turned 8 years old. My cousin was staying with us for the summer, and he was an avid Dungeons & Dragons player. I'd been bugging him to teach me how to play since he arrived. We were sitting outside of the Radio Shack waiting for it to open so that he could get the new Icewind Dale game, and finally he caved and taught me how to play D&D. He had his books on him, and he taught me the basics of 2nd edition Advanced Dungeons & Dragons. We made a character for me that night, and I got to play it that weekend. So that was really, really big for me at a time when I really needed it. My grandfather, who had been a role model to me ever since I was a baby, he was dying of cancer, and he ended up passing away that following February. So being able to play D&D at that time was really important for me. D&D has been there for me for many things. Throughout my teen years, I struggled with my sexuality. I came out as transgender when I was 18 and started hormone replacement therapy when I was 23. And D&D was my way of exploring my sexuality safely and without judgment, because, let's face it, who's going to judge you for the character you're playing while you play a role-playing game? Then D&D was there again for me when I was going through a lot of depression, anxiety, and other mental health issues, as well as struggling with addiction. So having that there to help me through that was very important. And now I am, clean as a whistle when it comes to drugs and alcohol, and I still have Dungeons and Dragons here as, my support system. So when COVID-19 came and took that away because we weren't able to play around the table anymore, I learned how to play with virtual tabletops, and I got to make my YouTube channel. I now have the Drunken Kobold. I got to recently celebrate 300 subscribers, so, huge thank you to everyone watching who is subscribed. And, D&D has just been really important to me as for my growth as a person, for my growth in my mental health. And I honestly can say I don't think I'd still be here if I didn't have the awesomeness that is role-playing games. So that is why I am passionate about D&D. Thank you for listening. Cheers, and may your rolls be with you.
And well, that wraps up episode 10. I hope you've enjoyed today's episode and all the previous ones. Apart from the news, every clip is not really time sort of dependent. So if you've enjoyed today, make sure you go back and watch all the previous episodes as well. And check out all of the creators that were involved today. Their information is going to be sort of underneath their timestamps in the description box below. Tell us why you love D&D or RPGs in the comment section below. And I'm Oliver East, signing out.